The report is now here. It has dropped, and it might not have produced everything of what some Republicans hoped for. It is, regardless, devastating to the FBI, and to a degree, it does exonerate Donald Trump.
When he says to a degree, he means 100%. That's one of the degrees that is available. It's also an incredible indictment of the news media, but the news media hasn't noticed that yet. How is it that I was aware of all of the, let's be generous and say, flaws involved in this investigation, and somehow the near entirety of the American news media completely oblivious, utterly unaware? Hey, wait a minute, these pieces don't really fit together very well. And by the way, I'm still wondering, who is Azra Turk? We've not answered the question, who is Azra Turk? A woman, a honeypot who offered up her flesh and to George Papadopoulos, affiliated with the Trump campaign, lured over to London, England, and part of now an international seditious conspiracy to ensnare the Trump team in a conspiracy, in a false, slanderous smear, and an effort to upend the presidential election. You know, they've how many elections have they upended now? The federal in the Soviet Union. We should literally. After Barack Obama was reelected, we opened the big radio broadcast the next day with the Soviet national anthem, the Soviet Army Men's Choir. And these words, I said, as the Soviet national anthem was playing, I said, "Buenos dias, comrade workers." Buenos dias, comrade workers. And little did I know how bad it was going to get. They used the IRS against their political enemies. Remember Lois Lerner, and she got away with it. I think she probably got a beach house out of the deal and maybe a Mercedes convertible. It's quite remarkable what's going on in the United States of America. They use the IRS against your patriot groups, any group that had the word patriot in it, because they knew that there were no Democrats involved with that, and Tea Party groups at the time, targeted by the Internal Revenue Service to sideline them so they could not be active in politics on the lead up to Barack Obama's reelection campaign and his reelection. And that was, of course, a criminal conspiracy for which absolutely no one was held accountable. And our feckless, hapless friends on Capitol Hill not getting the job done there once again. And then we learned that the FBI, no less, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, a.k.a. the Fascist Bureau of Intimidation, as the T-shirts say at the Chris Plant store, the Fascist Bureau of Intimidation. And they're more fascist than ever after the John Durham report. Yesterday, out of nowhere, have you noticed that there were no leaks throughout that whole thing? Because lefties apparently, it's almost inexplicable, but no leaks for, like 4 years, no leaks from the Durham investigation. And then the report, hey, suddenly no lead time. Hey, it's coming out next Tuesday at noon. At least it didn't come out Friday at 6 p.m., but it came out yesterday. I was down at Newsmax TV preparing for my 9 p.m. Newsmax television show when we got word, hey, the Durham report is about to drop, about to break. And holy cannoli, then more than 300 pages. And I've got to say, I think we did a fine job with it on the Newsmax program last night. And boy, oh boy, I am telling you, we had Congressman Matt Gaetz on, and he was great. Now, here's the thing. It revealed that there was a conspiracy, dare I say, a seditious conspiracy, a term that I've been using for a couple of weeks now about this, and also the CIA letter, another seditious conspiracy. And you know who is right into his a speckled, pockmarked face? Who's in this thing? In both of them. He was briefing Obama and Biden in the Oval Office, and then he was one of the lead conspirators in the letter of 51 felons, and that is John Penitentiary Face Brennan. Why do you think I've always called him Penitentiary Face? I have very good instincts when it comes to a whole great many matters, And one of them is sizing up a guy who belongs in a penitentiary. And that guy certainly is John Brennan. John Brennan has penitentiary written all over him. And, of course, he voted for Gus Hall, the Communist Party candidate for the presidency of the United States, and was made CIA director by Barack Obama, whose mentor, Frank Marshall Davis, was a card-carrying member of the Communist Party. Oh, speaking of which, we've got another story today. A school board in Colorado, which has come out in opposition to capitalism. Have you seen this? To capitalism. I was reminded of Vladimir Lenin and a number of his quotes when I saw this story out of the school board in Colorado, and I'm going to share that with you too. But first, the John Brennan, the penitentiary face Brennan, the John Durham report that came out yesterday. Durham finds the Department of Justice, FBI, quote, failed to uphold mission of strict fidelity to the law. That means they broke the law all over the place. They ignored the law all over the place. They lied to the FISA court. And Barack Obama was in on it, and Joe Biden was in on it, and FBI Director J. Edgar Comey was in on it, and John Brennan was at the heart of it all, the communist voting John Brennan. Seditious conspirator. He might not even be number one. He might be seditious conspirator number 4. Yet the Durham report does not recommend that charges be filed against anyone in particular. See, Andrew McCabe, a criminal on the loose, he was on with Manderson Pooper last night on CNN. And he's like, well, sure, we buried all of the exculpatory evidence and we lied to the FISA court, and none of us ever had any reason to believe that anything we were claiming was true. Manderson didn't ask about any of that, by the way. There were no follow-up questions. It was just, gosh, Durham report. Make your case, Andrew McCabe. He's actually employed by CNN, right? I think CNN hired Andrew McCabe, and they pay him because CNN is a part of the seditious conspiracy, too. Keep in mind that our news media is the most corrupt institution in the United States of America. The FBI and the Department of Justice may have more power to abuse, and they do, and they have been, because they're basically Democrat Party criminal front groups. And the intelligence community, too. We need busloads of whistleblowers to be like blowing things up on Pennsylvania Avenue and protesting, honestly. Benito Mussolini described fascism as a merger of state and corporate power. And last night, the Andrew McCabe interview with Anderson Cooper was a pretty good demonstration of the merger of state and corporate power. That would be fascism, just according to Benito Mussolini, who knew a thing or two about it, I think. Congressman Matt Gaetz said on my program last night on Newsmax, said we have to defang and defund them. Matt Gaetz suggests FBI agents should be indicted. Clearly true after Durham report that found no Trump collusion with Russia, no evidence to support Trump collusion with Russia, found that the so-called investigators knew that there was no evidence. They knew that it was just Hillary Clinton's opposition research. They buried all exculpatory evidence that would have contributed to the public knowledge that President Trump was innocent of all charges, and on and on. So it was a complete scam from the get-go. It was a political job perpetrated by the Democrats in collusion with state actors and the FBI. Keep in mind that the FBI also went to, they had possession of Hunter Biden's laptop and the emails, and they knew that everything in the laptop was true, was real. They saw the news media reporting that it wasn't, because the news media is filthy, corrupt to the core. Street prostitutes typically have more integrity. I know because Hunter Biden said so in his laptop. And he paid them. Remember, he asked the Russian hooker to thank him for not leaving bruises on her and beating her, instead of giving her $10,000. He's the nicest guy she ever met. That's all okay. But in any case, the FBI had the laptop and the emails before anybody, and they knew it was all true. But the FBI then went to Facebook and to Twitter and told them, "Oh no, don't let people share," all with winks and nods and weasel words and no, this is This is Russian disinformation. And it wasn't. The FBI was engaged in a seditious conspiracy. Every individual that spoke to Twitter and spoke to Facebook should be in ankle shackles and be dragged out of Reagan Airport, just for good measure. And they should have CNN camera crew in tow. CNN probably wouldn't air it. Remember how they dragged the FBI for their pre-dawn raid, the CNN camera crew in tow, and then they all lied about it and said, "Oh no, we're out outside every day. That's where we hang out." Pretty amazing stuff. So there's a lot to be said about this, as you are aware. And John Durham, no evidence of collusion. They fabricated evidence. President Trump calls it treasonous. I would certainly say there is a bare minimum a seditious conspiracy here. John Brennan and the FBI have tampered in election after election, 2016, 2018, 2020. This is Soviet stuff that we're watching now. The 51 felons that signed on to that seditious conspiracy letter, the intelligence officials, so-called, with their weasel words that I pointed out the moment they released their seditious conspiracy. Brennan briefed Obama, Biden at the White House, J. Edgar Comey. It was a conspiracy, not a conspiracy theory, an actual conspiracy. And the FBI yesterday, Christopher Wray, who's a crook too, said, "Oh, well, there were missteps." Yeah, missteps. There were missteps. Yeah. Sorry, we invaded the Sudeten. It was a misstep. And honestly, the Pulitzer Prizes given to the news media, all part of the seditious conspiracy. Now, they were lied to, and they wanted to be lied to, and they were in on the lie. That's the thing. If the people that received Pulitzer Prizes and other journalistic awards for spreading these lies, if they had a shred of integrity, they themselves would return the awards. But we know that they won't. Pretty amazing, amazing stuff. I'm telling you. So there is a lot to get to on this topic and many other topics as well. But that is clearly the big dog, and it is encouraging, and at the same time it's disappointing. Encouraging and disappointing. Man, oh man. So the headlines. Jake Tapper says Durham report pretty damning for FBI. Pretty damning for the news media, too. Adam Shifless was out there lying every day. Oh, I've seen the secret intelligence, and I'm telling you, wink, wink, not, rub, rug. And just over and over again, quite amazing stuff. The Hillary Clinton opposition research, which everybody knew was nothing more than that, and that it was fake, and there was nothing of any substance in there, and the FBI knew it. But they didn't care because they were engaged in a felony conspiracy to undermine Donald Trump because they hated him and because they planned to vote for the other guy. And they undermined our presidential election. And, they didn't like his jokes, I guess. They didn't like his sense of humor. So 2016, 2018, 2020, our own federal law enforcement and intelligence services tampering in our elections on behalf of the left. They have, the deep state has wheedled very deep into our permanent bureaucracy. August of 2016, CIA Director, communist voter John Brennan briefed President Obama, Vice President Biden, Attorney General Loretta Lynch, FBI Director James Comey, and they all knew that it was just a political commie. Again, John Brennan voted for Gus Hall for president. Barack Obama, his mentor as a teen, was Frank Marshall Davis of the Communist Party, and they were in charge. J. Edgar Comey is just as crooked as the day is long. How long is the day? We had an assault on congressional staffers at a Virginia Democrat's office yesterday in Virginia. And it turns out George Soros did it. I've got that for you. That's a pretty amazing story. Guy shouldn't have been on the loose. Joe Biden, they're politicizing the military. You'll be surprised to learn. Because of abortion, they may change their decision on the U.S. Space Command. God, they love abortion. Quite amazing stuff. After School Satan Club, Martha Stewart. Anti-capitalist lefties, Argentina, and we live in a very corrupt country. 888-630-9625. Hey, Chris here with some exciting news. Now you can listen to me live on the WMAL app. Doesn't matter if you're in your car, in the office, on the go. The WMAL app delivers crystal clear around-the-clock news coverage anywhere with cell service or Wi-Fi. So don't miss a second of your favorite shows. Download the WMAL app today on the Apple App Store or at Google Play Store. All right. Another revelation of sorts out of this whole thing is that, everything they've been, the left, this is a tactic, I pointed this out before, a tactic that they use frequently. The truth comes out, they call everything a conspiracy theory. One little chunk at a time it comes out. The meeting at the White House with Brennan, with Obama and Biden, and it comes out. And they accuse you of spreading conspiracy theories, right? And then 50 of these things come out over time. I put the pieces together. They accuse me of spreading conspiracy theories. Fine. Then it all comes in the report, and it's all true. And what they do is they say, this is old news. We already knew all this, right? And then they dismiss it. And the news media, being the chapstick fluffers that they are, they just gobble it up, right? And they say, oh, yeah, this is all old news. We knew this. I've seen this again and again. And the media is too stupid and too corrupt to actually behave as journalists ought to behave, which is why, we need me. Let's go to Will calling from Gainesville, Virginia. William, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Good morning, Chris. How you doing?
I'm okay, Will. What do you know?
Well, I just don't understand. I don't think we can have a government of a first world country if Democrats are willing to commit treason, if they're willing to weaponize the IRS, the CIA, the FBI, and the NSA to win elections and to target like everybody they disagree with. And Republicans just aren't willing to stand up and do anything about it. I mean, they have stuff available for them to do, but if they're not willing to do that, I'm not sure why we keep this government running.
Yeah, I understand your frustration completely. And you're right, the FBI, the Department of Justice, the CIA, the intelligence community, the IRS have all been weaponized, word of the year, by the Democrat Party and the left with the collusion of the seditious news media. And they have used their ill-gotten power to great effect. The geniuses that founded this country, who they smear as, white men or something, racists because, they're aborting 40% of the black population. They're the party of the Confederacy and the Klan and Jim Crow, and they call everybody racist. They use it very effectively. They abuse it very effectively. Now, Will, our first call today, speaking for millions of Americans, brilliantly laid out the frustration that so many of us are experiencing right now. We have a government that has the permanent bureaucracy has been taken over by the left, and the Democrat Party is the left, make no mistake. These are not liberals. This is the left, and no one is more illiberal than the left. And John Brennan, the Gus Hall voting Communist Party supporter, made CIA director by Barack Obama, whose childhood mentor was a card-carrying member of the Communist Party, Frank Marshall Davis. And these people they're leftists. They're not liberals. Now, just like in the Soviet Union, they have their $1 million waterfront houses They used to have their dachas and their Black Sea resort houses, the Soviet leaders. And Barack Obama, his simple upbringing from Hawaii and the Punahou School and the Choom Gang, just the most exclusive school in Hawaii and one of the most exclusive schools in the United States, brought up by his, dare I say, white grandparents, his mother, who, being oppressed as a woman, started as a secretary at a bank and became a vice president of a bank. And because his lefty mother had fled the scene, as so many mental case lefties do. And then the, poor guy, accidental in Columbia University and Harvard Law School, and didn't have to do anything. And the corrupt Democrat Party machine in Illinois, where he had no ties at all, but there was a very corrupt Democrat machine there. And suddenly he's in the state house, then he's a U.S. senator. And Harry Reid said, well, I can see you're not interested in being a senator. You're kind of bored sitting there picking your nose in the back row. Maybe you should run for president. And he becomes president. I think this might have something to do with After School Satan Club. I'm not sure. That's another Democrat Party project, though. Just amazing stuff. And he's not on our side. He's not a liberal. He's a leftist. And he finds John Brennan, and John Brennan finds him. John Brennan, again, a Communist Party voter. And you know any Communist Party voter? You really know anybody? Gus Hall ran for the presidency of the United States again and again as the Communist Party candidate. He didn't really get a lot of votes, but he got John Brennan's vote. And then John Brennan, the lefties, they plotted in the 1960s and 70s, no, you got to get inside the government. That's where you can make the change, right? And Penitentiary Face sure weaseled his way to the top of the pile. And then we see that he was in the Oval Office briefing a corrupt left-wing president, Barack Obama, and a dim-witted vice president, sock puppet, Joe Biden, who continues even as president to be a sock puppet for whoever the powers are behind the curtain, and I think we know who they are. And John Brennan, just in case there was any doubt, signed on to that letter with the 51 people in the Weasley language about Russian disinformation and the Hunter Biden laptop that they knew would be detrimental to Biden's presidential ambitions. And so they undermined and they undermined and they undermined. And now this comes out. And the FBI, Christopher Wray, says, there were missteps. No, there were felonies. There was a seditious conspiracy by the highest-ranking members of the federal law enforcement establishment in the FBI and the Justice Department, and then later in the intelligence community. And you people are criminals, and you've turned us into a third-world country. Or you might just say missteps, or maybe they were just missteps. But Will called in and he said, well, very frustrated. We have a government that has been infiltrated by the left. The Democrat Party has been taken over by the left, and the permanent bureaucracy is peppered with these seditious conspirators. And President Trump called it treason. Will called it treason as well. We've seen the FBI, the Department of Justice, and the IRS weaponized, word of the year, against the Republican Party and Republican candidates and Republican efforts. The left, this is, LBJ, there's an old saying, politics is like a type of warfare. It's war by other means. And LBJ said it's not war by other means, it's war. And the left, and that means the Democrat Party today, views it that way. It's war, and they're war against us. And the truth is, what is the Oliver Stone thing in war? The first casualty is truth. And the left is waging war against the United States, against capitalism, against free markets, against free people. The left is totalitarianism. Communism is slavery. The goal of socialism is communism. Vladimir Lenin said that. And Will raise these questions. And then we have a feckless, hapless Republican Party that doesn't seem to be up to the task of responding. And we, the American people, American patriots, find that to be very frustrating. All that we ask for is a level playing field, that the scales of justice be level, as they are supposed to be. And the scales of justice have been weighted by a corrupt Democrat Party and their infiltrators in the permanent bureaucracy, also known as the deep state. And we've seen, again, it's not crazy to use the word treason in this circumstance. We've seen the FBI again and again betray their oath. You know, they demonize the oath keepers. Oath keepers are people that have served in government, in the military and law enforcement, that have taken the oath to protect and defend, support and defend, and they believe that that oath doesn't expire when they leave the military or leave law enforcement. And they're the villains of the story. They're the villains of the story. And they have convicted, I guess, Enrique Tarrio, African-Cuban, I think they say Afro-Cuban American, who they attack because of his race and his ethnicity. He's with the Proud Boys, which they say is racist, but I think all the Proud Boys that were stabbed by Democrats in Washington, D.C. were black. At least 2 of the 4 were black, but pay no attention to that. And they've been convicted of seditious conspiracy. Enrique Tarrio wasn't even in Washington, D.C. on January 6th. And then we've got John Brennan and this gang that he runs with. And if you're looking for the textbook definition of seditious conspiracy, look no further than to what we're looking at here. Just extraordinary. Brennan, Obama, Biden, the Oval Office meeting in 2016. And if you're like Devin Nunes exposing then Congressman, exposing this stuff and sounding the alarm, and he's shouted down and laughed off the stage by a corrupt news media. And the news media continues their corruption today, last night and this morning with the Durham report. Oh boy, it's, it doesn't look good for the FBI. Then they don't ask any of the appropriate questions, the obvious questions. Just amazing stuff. Amazing stuff. And Will is right. Where's the Republican Party in meting out justice here? Very, very frustrating. And they're trying to pack the Supreme Court because the balance of power in the Supreme Court has always been in favor of the Democrats, and then the Supreme Court was always legitimate. The balance tips the other way, and suddenly they do everything they can to delegitimize the Supreme Court with their racist attacks on Clarence Thomas, which, you remember the high-tech lynching of Clarence Thomas started with Joe Biden as the chairman at the time, 1991, of the Senate Judiciary Committee during Clarence Thomas's confirmation hearing. And here we are decades later, and Lunch Bucket Joe is still carrying the rope. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. And we see these things happen again and again, and never any consequences for the evildoers. And they play these tricks where they accuse you as each of these elements come out, Devin Nunes and others bring to light elements of this seditious conspiracy. They're shouted down, they're laughed off the stage, and you're accused of spreading conspiracy theories. And then they're all packaged up in the Durham report in black and white and made public. And the hypocrites come out and say, well, that's old news. We knew all that already. Well, we knew all that. And the people that knew all that and said it out loud were accused of spreading conspiracy theories and were shouted down and canceled and accused of all manner of thing. And then it's, again, it comes out in the report, and they say, well, we knew all that. That's old news. Not exactly. Not exactly. Now, there is talk of congressional hearings. Great. How many of those have we seen where there are still no consequences? Lois Lerner of the IRS was brought up on Capitol Hill, and she laughed in their faces, walked away, got a highfalutin job, and never looked back because this city is so incredibly corrupt, fantastically corrupt. And what it all shows is that they're free to do it again, right? Am I right? Yes, I'm right. All right, let's go back to the telephones, and there's still plenty more on this as well. Let's go to John calling from Tennessee. John, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Good morning, Chris.
Hey, John.
Thank you for taking my call.
You betcha.
The news this morning that broke about the IRS agents getting removed from the Hunter Biden investigation, it was just mind-blowing to me in that it fell right on the heels of the release of the Durham report, and it is like they are saying, yeah, we're corrupt, we know you know, and we don't care that you know. We're just going to keep doing what we've been doing. We're not going to stop. What are you going to do about it?
That's exactly right. Yeah, I mean, it's. Look, I've known it. You listen to this radio show, so you've known it. You've known how corrupt this system is, and they know that they can get away with it again and again. It's the Fourth Estate, the geniuses that founded this country, recognized that governments would become corrupt from time to time. And we needed a system of checks and balances. The branches of government would check one another, and that's brilliant, absolute genius. And then in the end of the day, the Fourth Estate, a free and fair press. We have a free press, but we don't have a fair press. They're free to be unfair, and so they are, and to be corrupt. But it is the job of the Fourth Estate, the news media, to hold government accountable. But unfortunately, there has been a merger of the corporate media, and that's not a term that I used until not so long ago, a merger of the corporate media and the state power, which in this case is the Democrat Party. And the merger of the state power and the corporate power is, again, what Benito Mussolini defined as fascism. So what do you do about that, John? I mean, what do we do about a corrupt news media, honestly?
Well, I mean, obviously, like what you're doing with Newsmax, and you've got, I think, One American News, and you got Salem. I mean, they're like voices in the wilderness crying out to be listened to, but it seems a few people are listening. And I think eventually, down the road, maybe in my lifetime, we will have to head for just a peaceful divorce of the country. Where the states will just, okay, you want to do your thing, you do your thing. We're going to do our thing, and go our separate ways. I don't see how we're going to be able to fix this.
The union, the union breaking up. Now, listen, you were channeling a Soviet writer when you first called in about them lying to us. There was a Soviet author who did not like the Soviet Union. Elena Gorakova was her name, and she wrote, "The rules are simple. They lie to us. We know they're lying. They know we know they're lying, but they keep lying to us, and we keep pretending to believe them." That's from her book called A Mountain of Crumbs, about the horrors of the Soviet Union. And she said, they lie to us. We know they're lying to us. They know that we know they're lying to us, but they keep lying to us, and we keep pretending to believe them. And we're pretty much reaching that point in the United States of America with between the unholy merger of the Democrat Party and the corporate media. They continue to get away with it. They've tampered in the 2016 election, the 2018, the 2020 election. Honestly, the 2022. Now, Hillary Clinton has already projected into the future that the 2024 presidential election is going to be stolen by some sort of a vast right-wing conspiracy. And if we only had a news media, the genius of the Fourth Estate, of a free and fair press, we're halfway there. And you're right, John. It is talk radio and Newsmax and Salem. We're being called upon to save the republic, to save the country, and to save it not just for this country, but for all of humankind, for all of planet Earth. Because the left knows that if they can take down the United States, that it's game over for planet Earth, and will become one great contiguous slave state orbiting the sun, which has been their goal for a century. The day before yesterday, I was not able to travel to my niece's college graduation from the University of Illinois, where she graduated with a degree in chemical and biomolecular engineering. Chemical and biomolecular engineering. See, not everybody in the family is stupid. She's obviously, she graduated on track. No 5-year plan. Probably not a lot of 5-year plan people in the School of Chemical and Biomolecular Engineering, don't you think? That's pretty good stuff. My niece Madden, very smart young woman. Biomolecular engineering, that's your field of study? Yes. Now, get me a water. She's very bright young woman. And we were sitting here this morning. More school news. So congratulations to Madden and to my brother and sister-in-law for raising a very smart young woman. Chemical and biomolecular engineering. Sure. Well, somebody's got to get a degree in chemical and biomolecular engineering. I was like, too good for a degree in communications, huh? Do you have a degree in communications? Is that Michael Piercy's got a degree in communications? Sorry, I didn't mean it like that, but. I mean, you're right. But wait, it was biomolecular engineering was a little boring for you, so communications you decided was more up your alley. That was the thing. Of course, I don't have a degree at all, and that's why I'm still struggling in life in so many ways. But, chemical and biomolecular engineering, that's pretty good. And then we got a notice, Michael got a notice on his phone today that his son, I was talking about yesterday, was Max's birthday, and we were talking about Max's birthday yesterday, turning 8 years old. His school went on lockdown here in the D.C. area. That can be a really bad thing. Went on lockdown. His school and other schools around him went on lockdown. And Michael got the text message warning him about this, and then we looked into it, because you got to, keep tabs on this stuff. And it turns out there was a black bear. There was a black bear on the loose. And then a bear, an actual bear, the big hairy animal. That's not racist. It's a bear on the loose, a big old bear in the neighborhood of the school. So they went on lockdown. That's pretty good. In D.C., they have not had a lockdown recently of the schools because of a bear. But a lady was shot in the face this morning, and those 2 children were shot yesterday in Washington, D.C., but no bear sightings, no bears.